Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining my webinar today on the best EU alternatives following the withdrawal of the Spanish Golden Visa. Now, first of all, apologies for people that are registered to watch this live. We are starting this a little bit early. We've got some maintenance work due at the house, which means I might be without the internet later on. So what we're going to do is to start it now, and then obviously we'll send you all a copy of this. So if you are watching this, you should get all the information anyway. So yeah, as I say, what we're going to talk about today is the best EU alternative. So just to give you a bit of background on this, the Spanish Golden Visa we've withdrawn last month, towards the beginning of last month, which has left kind of a hole in the Golden Visas with people looking for alternatives. So we're going to look at what's still available. What can you do? Is the Spanish one still available? What status is that? And for people that have been watching the news, you might have seen information on the Malta Golden Passport. Now, this was a popular citizenship scheme that was run by Malta, whereas for a donation and for investing money, you were given essentially an EU passport. But that's been ruled illegal by the Supreme Court in the EU, which means that is likely to go. And the knock-on effect might mean that affects other Golden Visa options. So we'll talk a little bit about that anyway. So what I'll do, let me just share my screen now. We can start to go through and sort of break apart really what you need to be aware of. Okay. So as I say, my name's Sam Daynes. I'm one of the senior managers here at Holborn Assets. On this screen, you've got my WhatsApp and phone number, which is 447969059122. It's a UK number, but I'm actually based over in Spain and Portugal. So I work between Spain and Portugal. We've got an office in both countries, probably about 40-minute drive from one to the other. At the moment, I'm in Spain, but our other office is in the Algarve in Portugal. You've also got my email address there, which is sam.daynes@holbornassets.com. So if you do have any questions that are personal to yourself, or you want to book an appointment in, we do free consultations. Just drop me an email at that email address. I've even put a QR code on for those who are into the technology side of things. So if you scan that, it will access my diary and it will tell you the availability. You can actually book yourself in. So if you've got your phone on you, scan that and book yourself in. As I say, it's free consultations. We're trying to go through as much as we can today, but inevitably there will be questions. You can also find me on YouTube, which I will upload this webinar to, which is @WorldCBI, where I've done plenty of videos on the Spanish Golden Visa, the Portugal Golden Visa, and other options that you have available for you. So obviously feel free to look me up there and subscribe if you wish to as well. I've got my own website, which is worldcbi.com, but I work under Holborn Assets, and we've got our own Holborn Pass, which is holbornpass.com, where you can find more information as well about our offering. So as I say, what we're looking at really is that we know that the Spanish Golden Visa has gone. We know now that the Malta Golden Passport, which was another very popular option, is going. There's certainly a lot of people now looking at that. And the reason it is going is basically the EU ruled that to be able to purchase citizenship, which is different to residency, but to be able to purchase it is not right. And it might have a knock-on effect on other programs, which I will cover as to why that may be the case. So what we'll go through today, so we'll start off by just telling you a little bit about Holborn Assets, who we are, what we do, and Holborn Pass. So I will explain the difference, but Holborn Pass is essentially part of Holborn Assets, and we deal specifically with Golden Visa programs, residency by investment, citizenship by investment programs, and that's what we look at there. And I'll explain how that came about. We'll look at residency by investment and exactly what does that mean. And we'll look at what the latest news is on the Spanish Golden Visa. As I'm sure you're all aware, we've known for some time that was going to go. It now has gone, but there's still a lot of questions coming in about this. And I know some of the people watching here found us through Spain Guru. We believe that we'll go through what an alternative are, which is what the best alternatives are, which is a Portuguese Golden Visa. And I'll explain exactly why that program is so good. Even if you're looking to live in Spain, the Portugal Golden Visa could be the one to look at now the Spanish Golden Visa is gone. And I'll explain why. But what you need to do as well is keep in your mind with regards to what I've mentioned about the Malta Golden Passport program being ruled as unlawful by the EU, because that might have a knock-on effect on Portugal. I'll explain why. And to actually make it even more intriguing or to be more aware of as well, is actually on Sunday, Portugal has a snap election. So elections going on in Portugal, which mean that the programme for the Portuguese golden visa may well change. It has changed a couple of years ago, which I'll come on to, and it may change further. We know one of the parties has already stated that they're going to change some parts of it, but we'll go into that as well. We'll talk about the process and the benefits of having a golden visa, whether that's Portugal or Spain or whichever program you like. And we'll give you some example of investment options that we have available. So we can talk through them so you can see what sort of cost you can do that for, and questions and answers. We've got a few questions come in, so if I've got time, I'll go through them. I can't stress enough, please use the QR code. If you want your own personal questions answered, then scanning that code, booking yourself in, we can talk about your personal situation, answer any questions you have. Or as I say, you can feel free to email me as well. So let's tell you a little bit about Holborn Assets and Holborn Pass, who we are and what we do. So basically, Holborn Assets started back in 1998. So we've been going well over 25 years now. We're a British family firm. We employ over 500 people, and we've got 20 international offices, including one in Spain, which is where I am today, and one over in Portugal. So we've got 2 offices in the Algarve. The one in Spain is down in Malaga, but we've got 20 international offices, and we've got now around 25,000 clients. Now, the idea of having these international offices was basically as a wealth management firm. I don't know if people will be aware of this or not aware of this, but due to regulation, when you move around the world, quite often you're not able to continue to give people advice. So a big example of that would be in the UK. If you're getting financial advice in the UK, you decide to move, let's say, to Spain, Portugal, wherever that may be, that the advisor in the UK is not then allowed to advise you due to different regulation. So as a wealth management firm, we've got fully regulated in all the different locations that we operate. And that means that we're able to continue to offer people advice as they move around, which a lot of people do. So it was an offering really to make sure that we can stay with our clients. And as such, obviously, we've got now lots and lots of clients. But it became apparent around 7 or 8 years ago that a lot of people that were looking to invest money were looking at ways of getting global mobility. They wanted to invest money in the best possible way, but they also wanted for that investment to be able to get such an EU passport or EU residency. So we started Holborn Pass, which is essentially part of Holborn Assets, but concentrates on the golden visa side of things, on the global mobility. So that's why Holborn Pass was started. But where it works so well is that we have all the experience as a wealth management firm. So as a wealth management firm, we know what the best investments are. So for us, investment is the priority. We have exclusive investments as well, which aren't available anywhere else because we've been going such a long time. We've got very good relationships with a lot of investment firms. So it puts us in a very good position to help our clients. And in 2023, we did over 300 Portugal golden visas, which was actually made us the #1 provider for the golden visa in Portugal. And we have a 100% success rate of getting applications through. So we've got a back office team here. We know exactly what we need to do to get an application through and to get it through quickly as well. We have that experience. So it puts us in a very good position to help you with what you're looking to do if you are looking for a golden visa. Now, because of this, we won numerous industry awards, as you can see there on the right-hand side. We're also rated excellent on Trustpilot as well. So it just gives you a bit of reassurance in terms of exactly who you're dealing with. So that's how we came about. And as I say, since then, really, Holborn Pass has become, I'd say, the main part of the business at Holborn Assets. I'm talking here about the Portuguese golden visa, but obviously the Spanish golden visa is now gone. We've done lots of them. But we don't just do Portugal and Spain. We do all the different golden visa programs that are out there, and we can help you with anything that you're interested in. So in terms of what we do for our clients, okay, we offer the full service from beginning to end. So the idea for us was to be a one-stop shop. So if, for example, you were interested in the Spanish golden visa, we would do everything. So we would find the best investment opportunities. We do the due diligence on the investment opportunities. We offer an overview on projects and developers, depending on whether it's property or whether it's investment. We accompany you to do all the fingerprints that may be associated with the particular program. We open you a bank account. So in the case of Spain, that would be a Spanish bank account. Or in the case of Portugal, it'd be a Portuguese bank account. We're open the tax numbers for you as well. We're going to collect your cards, fill out all the forms, even submit your annual tax returns on your behalf, and we deal with everything. So basically, and even if that's going as far as getting your passport at the end of it, we're a one-stop shop. So all you need is us, and within us, we have all the infrastructure to deal with the whole process for you. And to make it even better for a lot of people, the majority of different programs that we do don't actually require you to leave the country that you're in. So we can do the vast majority of this process by doing a power of attorney. So things such as opening a bank account, opening your getting your tax numbers, we can do all that without you being here. Quite often, the only time you will need to come over would be to do your fingerprints and your biometrics, which obviously we physically need you here for. But we can come along and help you with that process and answer and help you certainly with a language barrier with a lot of people. So we will do all that for you. Again, I put the QR code again at the bottom there just to remind you, if you want to book in, use that code. But importantly, it's really important to understand the difference really between citizenship and residency, particularly in light of the situation with Malta. So the idea is, these programs, the golden visa or golden passport programs, the idea is that you will get residency or citizenship by contributing to the foreign country economy. So that could be by investing into real estate, into property, by donating, by investing into a business, by investing into investment funds or into bonds, whatever that may be, and it depends on the particular program. But by donating or putting this money into the economy, you will be rewarded with residency or citizenship. Okay. Now, residency by investment, which is what the Spanish Golden Visa program is, and which the Portuguese Golden program is basically you will get a residency permit, which is temporary, but it can be renewed. So it's not temporary because you can renew it every 2 years or 5 years, whatever that may be. And it gives you the right to live, to work, and to retire in that particular country. Okay, so you get the benefits, similar to what I have here in Spain, is I can stay here as long as I want. I don't need any visas. I can work here. I'm entitled to the healthcare. I'm entitled to the pension. So it gives me all of those benefits. Now, what will happen with that is after a certain period of time on a lot of these programs, you're allowed to change the residency into citizenship. Okay, depending on the program will depend how long you have to wait. Now, the benefit of citizenship is it gives you all the added extras. So you effectively get a passport for that country. And that passport itself, in the case of the EU, is like having 27 passports in one, because you can move freely. You can live in any of the EU Schengen countries, 27 of them. You can move around freely. You don't have to fill out any visas. There's no restrictions on the amount of time you can spend in any of the countries. You also have the things such as the right to vote as well, and various other benefits. But initially, you're pretty much always given residency, and you can change it into citizenship. Outside of the EU, there's a lot of citizenship programs where you can actually get a passport straight away by a donation, but they don't tend to be EU countries. EU countries tend to be residency programs. However, the Malta Golden Passport was the last remaining EU citizenship program. And without going into too much detail about that, because that won't be available anymore, by investing a rather large sum, which is between 600 and 750,000 euros, into a particular fund, and by donating money and various other caveats, you would be given an EU passport, a Maltese passport, and it would be after 1 year or 2 years, depending on how much you invested. The EU looked at that back in 2022, said we were going to look at this program because we don't think this is right, don't think it's lawful. And they've done all their investigation. They've come out and they've said, as of a few weeks ago, it's not lawful to be giving citizenship simply by someone paying for it. Now, the programs we're going to talk about here, which is Spain and Portugal, these are residency programs, so they shouldn't directly be affected by that ruling. However, these residency programs can be changed into citizenship. So that's where the issue may lie, that some countries, you're able to get that citizenship quite quickly, such as Portugal. Spain was longer, and I'll come on to what the difference was. But in actual fact, that may make the countries such as Portugal look at their scheme to think, well, actually, it's a bit like we are giving this away too easily. We're giving citizenship too easily, and it might get looked at. So as the benefits are at the moment, there is a sense of urgency for some people. If you like the terms of what things are now, you are better to do it now than to wait, because we do think ultimately changes will happen. We don't know when, but they will happen. Now, this is a very complicated slide, but it is useful to explain a little bit clearer as to what I was talking about there, okay? So these are the different programs that we have available. So on the left-hand side, we've got citizenship programs, okay? Now, these tend to be outside of the EU, except for Malta, as I mentioned. So you can see there, we've got Antigua, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, Vanuatu, Malta, and Turkey. And there's an estimated time to citizenship. So by doing the donations and minimum donations, whatever that may be, 4 months, 4 months, 4 months, etc., you can get citizenship. Malta was 14 months. Within 14 months, you could have a Maltese passport, which was the last EU citizenship program. But as we know now, that's been looked at. That's been ruled as unlawful. And now it is being looked at with a view that this will go. So what we're going to concentrate on now, particularly for people looking at this, is residency programs in the EU. Now, there are a number of residency programs here. We've got Malta, we've got Portugal, Greece, USA, obviously not in Europe, Spain and UAE, not in Europe. So we're going to concentrate on the ones that are available. Now, Malta does have a residency program, which would still be available. But we're looking at initially Spain, which is the reason a lot of people may be looking at this video. Now, Spain was a very popular program. So basically with Spain, in return for investing 500,000 into property, commercial property, residential property, whatever type of property, you were given residency. So you get your residency card and you have the right to live, to work and retire here. You'd renew it every 5 years. And after 10 years, you could convert that residency into a passport, into citizenship. So it was quite a long time you had to wait. There was certain situations where people could do it in as little as 2 years. And that was if when you applied, you had an ex-Spanish colony passport. So like Colombia, Peru, Brazil, there's lots of them on the list. But if you had one of those passports when you applied, then you could actually convert it in as little as 2 years. But for the majority of people, it was 10 years. So you invested 500,000. After 10 years, you can then convert that into a passport. You could also include your children to the age of 18, dependent parents, all on that one application. So it was a really good program. Now, what happened is a number of years ago, this Spanish Golden Visa program was looked at and the new government came in and I think more as a political statement decided to get rid of it. Now, we thought maybe they're just going to remove property or change it somewhat, but they didn't. They've actually got rid of the Spanish Golden Visa, and I'll come on to exactly where we stand with that at the moment. Now, we know that other Golden Visa programs will be looked at again by their respective governments because there is this correlation potentially between people investing money and the economy of that country, so rising house prices, etc., etc. So that's the reason Spain did it. Now, the neighbour here was obviously Portugal. Now, why we're looking at Portugal, and we're going to concentrate a lot on Portugal today, is that Portugal, again, has a minimum of 500,000 investment. Now, I will state at this point for anyone watching, it is 500,000, that is the minimum. But actually, we've got a number of programs where you can actually do it for as little as 325,000 by having interest paid up front and various other mechanics that we put in. So you can do it for a lot less than 500,000. But the actual ruling is 500,000. That's what we need to show as being invested. But there are ways of doing it for less, as I mentioned. The huge benefit to Portugal and why it's so popular is with Portugal, you can convert your residency to citizenship in only 5 years. So a very low amount of time compared to Spain's 10 years. But where this becomes really, really interesting and really, really beneficial for a lot of people is during that 5 years that you hold that asset worth 500,000, which I'll come on to a little bit later in the presentation. You only in effect have to spend 1 week every year in Portugal. So it's like having a holiday once a year. Now, if you do that for the 5 years and you keep hold of that asset, in year 6, you can apply for the Portuguese passport. And I'll come on to what you need to do that. But essentially, you can actually then get an EU passport. Not only that, you can tag your children on there. So children up to the age of 21 or dependent children, dependent parents as well. So you can effectively have one application, one investment amount, and actually have 6, 7, I think we've done one with 8 or 9 people on before, just for one investment amount. And all of you can then get EU passports. Now, there are certain conditions you have to do. You have to do a language test and a cultural test, which I'll come on to. But in principle, that's quite easy. Now, where we think this might change, and again, without keep going on about this, is because this time to citizenship is so beneficial at 5 years and the minimum stay requirements are only 1 week per year, there is a certain correlation with what happened with Malta, whereas Malta was looked at and it was deemed that you can't buy citizenship. Well, arguably, what Portugal have done in the sense of only having to stay there 1 week per year for that 5 years, arguably, you're not really having an affiliation with that country. You are kind of purchasing citizenship, albeit having to wait 5 years, which is why we feel this ruling might have an indirect effect on Portugal. And also, as I mentioned before, Portugal have got the elections this Sunday, the 18th, I believe it is, of May. So we'll know more after that date, and I'll do another webinar on this. But the likelihood is whatever government comes in will review that. Now, I don't think they're necessarily going to get rid of the golden visa, but I think what they're likely to do is get rid of the minimum stay requirement of the 1 week per year, and of it only being 5 years so you can get the passport. So it might be that you have to become tax resident, because at the moment, theoretically, you don't have to become tax resident because you only have to stay there 1 week per year for that 5 years. So you can essentially get the asset now, forget about it, go on holiday 1 week a year to Portugal, and then at the end of in year 6, actually get your passport. So without really ever living in the country. So I think that will be something that gets looked at by the government as well, for any change in the government. But that's just to give you an overview on that, and really what we're feeling about what will happen. Now, if you look at the benefits of an EU passport, and this is the passport itself. So in the case of Portugal, this would be after 5 years. You can live in any of the 27 countries, 27 Schengen countries, which you can see on the right-hand side. There's a lot of them. Now, that's the right to not just live, but you also have the right to retire, to work, to study in any of these countries for you and the family. So anybody that you put on that application will all come under that qualification. You can open a business in any of them countries as well, and you can travel visa-free to 185 different countries. The Portuguese passport is one of the strongest that there is as well. So that global mobility you will truly get, particularly with Portugal, after 5 years, if you get that asset now. Now, as I say, we know if this is going to be withdrawn in the future, they will always, by law, they always will honour people that are already in the programme. So if anybody's doing it now, then they would be okay. But obviously, if any changes happen with regard to minimum stay, it might be too late to do it on the terms that we're talking about now. So the Spanish golden visa, just to go back to that and what happened, okay. So basically, back on the 3rd of January 2025, so right at the beginning of the year, the law was officially passed and they said, right, there is no more Spanish golden visa, it's gone. Now, under Spanish law, they have to give you 3 months from that publication, and 3 months met the 3rd of April this year, 2025, the Spanish golden visa went. That means it's not available, not just for property, but for any type of investment. So I will say at this point as well, for anyone watching, when we look at Portugal 2 years ago, had the same thing as Spain. They looked at it before Spain, and we thought that was going to be withdrawn, but they didn't withdraw the Portuguese golden visa. What they did is they removed property as an option, which I'll come on to. But there were lots of other options you could do. We thought something similar may happen with Spain, but it didn't. They actually said, no, we are withdrawing the whole thing. It's gone. So any applications that were submitted had to be submitted by the 3rd of April. It's now too late. After that date, no further applicants can application can happen via any route. So not just property, donations, anything. It's just not available anymore. So anyone that was currently or is currently in the program by that date, they would be honoured and protected under the terms that they were signed up. So bear that in mind for the Portugal side of things as well. Once you're in, you're in. But if you're too late to be in, then you know obviously you can't get it anymore. And applications can then just be renewed ongoing as long as they meet the criteria. So, as I said before, what is now going to be the best alternative for people now that the Spanish Golden Visa has gone? Well, as I said, it's Portugal. Quite simply, Portugal is, as it stands at the moment, incredibly unique in terms of how quickly you can get your passport and in terms of not having to become tax resident by only having to spend 1 week per year in Portugal. But Portugal itself, for anyone looking to live there, it's voted the most welcoming country for expats. I go over to Portugal quite a lot from Spain as I work between the two offices. And I can say that the Portuguese people are so friendly in terms of making you feel welcome. I'm not saying Spain's not, but I'm saying there's definitely a difference, and I'd say Portugal are incredibly friendly. It's a very peaceful country. It's a Global Peace Index. It's the 3rd most peaceful country. Voted the best retirement destination. It's got the 12th best public healthcare system, the 16th best education system as well. So it's a really, really good place to live. But I've got to reiterate this point as well. And as it stands at the moment, even if your view is, I want to retire in 5 years' time and I want to retire in Spain or France and not necessarily Portugal. The way it stands at the moment is that you can invest and get the golden visa now. You only have to spend 1 week per year, as I mentioned, and basically go on holiday once a year. And then in year 6, you don't have to have your asset anymore. You can get rid of it because you can then get the Portuguese passport. Once you've got that, you can live in any of the Schengen countries, so France, Italy, Spain, wherever you wanted to go. So it's really good for people that are looking for an alternative to the Spanish Golden Visa. And obviously, once you've got even if you're living in Portugal, to go across to Spain is really easy as well. As I say, I travel across freely. There isn't actually any border control between Spain and Portugal. So when I do cross the border from Spain to Portugal, there's no one stamping your passport or checking your cards. We're not that when I've ever been across. So in terms of where you actually are, it's open borders because it's Europe as well. So cool. For them to know exactly where you are is quite difficult anyway. But the Portugal Golden Visa, to give you a bit of background, it was started back in 2012, so it's about a year before the Spanish Golden Visa. These figures are a lot higher now. I think it's way over 10,000 approved golden visa applications, and 27,000 people have now got the golden visas. It's a lot higher. I think this is about a year old, this slide. The first citizenship was granted in 2018 without applicants living in Portugal. So if you look at the 3rd point here. Now, what that actually means is, if you imagine it started in 2012, so the first applications came in 2013. In 2018, that was 5 years after, these first citizenships were being granted to these people because they'd had the visa for the 5 years. So it's now happened many times. So we know it all works very, very well for our clients, and people then have their European passport. It's raised way over 6 billion in foreign direct investment, and any non-EU citizens can apply. You're just going to not have a criminal record. Minor offences aren't so much of a problem, but as part of our process when we're putting our clients through the process is we need to get a criminal record check for the last 5 years and where you've lived as well in your home country. But that's we'd go through and help you with that, but that's very straightforward. Also, really importantly, you can include your spouse, your children, and your parents to any amount of numbers. So, as I say, we've had, I think the highest is 8 or 9, it might even be higher. So if you've got dependent children, you've got dependent parents, you've got your spouse, you can all go on that one application. And as I said, that means you will all get your Portuguese passport with only having to go there 1 week per year to get it. The benefits of the golden visa itself, that's the visa, not the passport, means you can live and work in Portugal. You can freely travel amongst all the 27 Schengen countries. You can establish a business in those countries as well. there is actually a non-habitual tax regime in Portugal. That was withdrawn a couple of years ago. It was very beneficial, that, with sort of 10% tax rates on foreign income. It's now been replaced with NHR 2.0, which is a little bit more restrictive. But for certain professions, it can be a very preferential tax regime. But on the other hand, you don't actually have to become tax resident, because I mentioned before, you only have to spend 1 week per year in Portugal in order to qualify for the citizenship. So you don't need, you can still continue to live where you are now for the next 5 years, as long as you go to Portugal for 1 week per year. And with that gold visa, you get the access to the world-class healthcare, education and pension. So you are treated similar to like I am here in Spain and over in Portugal. I've got my residency card, and then I qualify for all the education and the healthcare, the pensions that you would want for the country you're living in. The Portuguese passport, as I said, after 5 years, you can turn that into citizenship. So you can request it. In order to do that, you have to do 5 weeks physical stay, which is the 1 week per year that I mentioned before. And you have to do an A2 language level test. That always makes people worried, because they think, oh, I'm not very good at learning languages. Make it very clear on this. This can be done anytime within the 5 years. And it doesn't have to be a physical exam. There are courses that you can do that can sign you off at that A2 language level that you need. Do also bear in mind, if this changes, it might be that they make the language level test harder, because I think a lot of the way that the EU is looking at things like this is to make sure that people that want citizenship are genuinely have an affiliation with that country and are not just buying it. So that may change as well amongst the minimum stays. But yeah, it's relatively simple as it is at the moment. And essentially, you'll get the 4th best passport in the world in terms of what it gives you. So it's a really, really strong passport to have. And as I said before, it's like 27 passports in one. You can travel to 187 countries visa free, and you can live and work anywhere in the EU, which is, it's just a huge benefit, particularly coming from the UK. I mean, a lot of the application we do are from people from the US and from Canada, and also from the UK as well, because we've got that 90 and 180 day rule. So unless you've got a residency card, you can only spend 90 days, and you have to get back to your home country to reset, and you can come back over for another 90 days. It's incredibly confusing. And as of November this year, in Europe, I know in Spain, in Portugal, they're going to really clamp down on people moving between countries. They're going to have that digital system, so you get your fingerprints done, similar to what happens when you go to America. You have your face scanned as well, so they'll be able to track where you are a lot easier than what they can do nowadays. To give you an idea of the timeline of what to expect, okay, so I'm trying to simplify this on this. So what would happen if it's something you're interested in Portugal? Okay, so we find the qualifying investment, which I'll give you some examples of shortly. So once you've done that, you've found this asset that we're fine for you, and we'll go through with you. We need to do all the paperwork. So we need to open you a Portuguese bank account, which we can do remotely for you, as I mentioned before. We need to get you a tax number, which we can do all on your behalf. We need to get a power of attorney. We need to get the criminal record check, etc., etc. And it normally takes about 3 months to get everything that we need. As I say, we've got a dedicated team behind the scenes, know exactly what they're doing. So we can get this done as quickly as we can, but realistically, that's how long it can take. Soon as we have that, we can then apply for your golden visa. Now, where a lot of people have, or Portugal has potentially had problems in the past, is it's such a popular program that they couldn't physically deal with the amount of applications they were having. Therefore, there was a year's delay on people getting their golden visa, because they just couldn't cope with the numbers that they were getting in. And what was made even worse by that is, if, for example, it took somebody 2 years to get a golden visa, the 5 years would start from when you got the golden visa to get the passport. So what was 5 years to get a passport was then 7 or 8 years. And it really put people off. The good news, the first bit of good news, is that your 5 years doesn't now start from when you get your golden visa card. It starts from when the application went in. So even if there was a delay on you getting the card, your 5 years starts from once we've got that's actually sent in for the GB approval. That's when your 5 years start. Furthermore, the Portuguese government, because they are keen to get people to invest into the country, they've changed the whole process. It's all become digital. They've doubled the amount of staff that they've had. They've changed the body that's overseeing it. It's now called AIMA, AIMA, and they're speeding up the process. And the idea is to clear all the backlog by June, so by next month. And I think they are on target to do that. So twofold, it's good. Firstly, that you're going to get your 5 years starts from the application, and secondly, the whole process of this is speeded up because it's gone digital. I don't quite know why it wasn't digital in the first place, but hey, it is now. And then what happens in year 2? We renew your card for another 2 years. And then in year 4, we renew it for another 2 years. So every 2 years we renew it. The cost of renewal have gone down considerably. So we're talking pennies, not thousands of pounds to renew it. So it's really, really good. And then in year 5, we can, and we will do it on your behalf, apply for you to change to your passport, to apply for citizenship. And then in year 6, once that's all gone through, you would have your EU passport. So that's the normal processing times of what we would expect. So it's a lot quicker than it used to be, and that's certainly a benefit, because that was the one downside about Portugal. Now, this is the big question, is what are the options that are available to you? So as I mentioned before, you used to be able to invest into property in Portugal, and going back 2 years, that option was removed because of the potential effect it was having on the housing market. However, they still wanted to encourage people to invest. So there are different ways that you can do this. And I reiterate what I said, we're a wealth management firm. So we've looked at what the best options are, and I'll go through these on the last slides. But these are the options. The first one is you start a business which creates at least 10 jobs. Now, that's quite a difficult one, because if you haven't already got a business, to start a business and then to create 10 jobs and then to maintain those 10 jobs is actually quite hard. So it's more niche that as to whether we can do it or not. The second one, you invest 500,000, or I say invest, you donate 500,000 into research activities. Not so popular this, because as you can imagine, it's basically where you have to donate money and there's no investment to this. So from the point of view of a lot of people, that's not what they want to do. They don't want to lose 500,000. Although you might be helping research activities, in a sense, it's not really a very good investment for yourself. The other option, which is more popular now, is you donate 250,000 euros to art, national heritage and culture. Again, certainly not the most popular, because as you can imagine, it's 250,000 that you lose. I mean, there's no investment there. You give that money away and you don't see it again, but it will give you the residency card. Number 4, which is more popular, so 4 and 5 are the main ones really that we would look at. 4, a venture capital fund. So you invest 500,000 for the acquisition of shares or units in a non-real estate collective investment entity. So it can't involve property. So essentially, it's an investment fund. Now, bear in mind, we're a wealth management firm. We know all about investment funds. You've got to be very careful of some investment funds, because you can get expensive. It can be expensive when you invest your money. You can get tied in, and there can be penalties when you get your money out. So you have to be really careful. The investment funds that you can use, I think it's about 35 of them for Portugal. And you need to be really careful what ones you're looking at. But we have access to all the funds that you can invest your money into. And there are some very good funds where they will pay interest up front, which means you don't have to invest 500,000. You can invest less, because the interest is paid up at the outset, and you can have a guaranteed exit in year 6, which I'll come on to. So very popular, but these are the investment funds. The other option is you can do a capital transfer of 500,000 to the reinforcement of the share capital of a Portuguese company with the maintenance of at least 10 jobs for a minimum period of 3 years. Sounds complicated. It's really not. It's basically an existing business. It's already there. You invest 500,000, and in return, they employ 10 people, 10 job positions for a minimum of 3 years. Now, we have a number of hospitality companies that we work with that can do this. And again, they can pay compensation or interest up front. So again, another popular. So 4 and 5 are by far the most popular ways of doing this. So to go through some of the options that we have, and again, we can go through this in more detail if any of these are of interest. I'd say the most popular one we have at the moment, And these do change all the time because there are only a certain amount that we have available anyway. So I'll talk you through this and hopefully it makes sense. But obviously there's a lot of information on here. It's not as complicated as it looks, but let me just speak you through it. So basically, Sol Aqua Hotel and Spa in Albufeira. So it's a hotel in Albufeira. If you've ever been to Albufeira, it's a seaside place, very, very popular with tourists, very beautiful, lovely beaches. I'm actually going there the week after next, which is it's lovely, lovely weather, very, very popular. So there's a Sol Aqua Hotel and Spa there. Now they operate a 4-star hotel, which have got 110 to 20 units, apartments within the hotel. So prime location in Albufeira in the Algarve. Now they've got 60 apartments at 50 square meters and 60 apartments at 70 square meters. So obviously the 70 square meters cost more money. Now the investment for the 50 square meters is 500,000 and the investment for the 70 square meters is 550. So you need 500,000. However, and this is where it gets interesting for people looking at this option, the Sol Aqua Hotel and Spa Albufeira will actually pay compensational income up front of 3.37% per year for 6 years. So they would pay 20.2% interest up front. So they would pay you, if you've invested 500,000, 101,000 up front, or if it's 550, 111,000 up front. So it's paid up front to you. So that means you don't actually need 500,000 because you've already got the 101,000 paid to you. So it's essentially it's paid straight to you and you pay it straight back in, which means it brings down to what you need to only 399,000, not 500,000. Furthermore, you've got the option to finance for a further 50,000. So you can actually finance this as well, which we go into more detail if you wanted to do that. But it means you actually only need around 349,000, not 500,000. But where this gets really interesting is in year 6, written into the contract, is that they will purchase it, the fund back for 500,000. So you've got a guaranteed exit in year 6 of 500,000. So you know at the outset exactly what return you've made, and in year 6 that's when you get your passport, you will get your 500,000 back. So it's like having your money sat in an account getting 3.3%, 7% interest per year, giving you that residency card, and in year 6 you get your passport. And if you've gone for the bigger option, the bigger 70 square meters, it's 550,000 guaranteed buyback in year 6. So it's basically a no-risk investment. You are investing that money, you're getting your interest paid up front, you've got a guaranteed exit strategy. To make it even more meaty or interesting to some people, what they've done as well, they've offered, now this doesn't form part of the transaction of getting the golden visa, but actually what the hotel does is they will give you a property as collateral with the option to keep the apartment. So in year 6, if properties prices had gone booming, and you think, well, actually, I think I'd rather just keep the apartment, you can keep the apartment as opposed to getting the 500,000 back. So it's a good way of hedging your bets. If the property market does really well, you don't have to exercise the 500,000 buyback or the 550,000. You can simply keep the property. Most people would do the buyback. I'll be honest, most people would just get the 500,000 back, but you do have that option. So yeah, you've got the property as collateral. To make it even more interesting for a lot of people as well, you actually offered 4 weeks per stay per year. So 1 week June, September, and 3 weeks off peak. So a free stay in the accommodation into the hotel, which means that you can actually, as part of your 1 week you have to stay per year, you can actually have a free hotel stay because you can stay here as well. It's 3 minutes from the beach, 3 minutes from the centre, and 30 minutes from the airport. I don't know if the next slide explains it any clearer. But option 1, you do no loan, so compensational interest is paid up for 101,000 up front. You then pay 399,000. You got the buyback guarantee, depending on which option, for 500 or 550,000. The option with the loan, you can basically pay. You pay 101,000. Sorry, it's paid to you up front. You can have a loan of 50,000 with 5% interest. So price after the upfront income alone, you only have to pay 349,000. You got that same buyback guarantee. You've then got the interest you have to pay, 5% on the loan, which is 2,500 over 2 years, was 5,000 euros for the cost of the loan. The payment over the 2 years, 6,875 euros per quarter, so 2,292 per month. Again, it's whether you want to use a loan, and we go into more detail whether you wanted to look at that option, but it's just a way for us to lower what it costs you to do this. Just if you're interested in the Sol Aqua, that's where it is in terms of the location. It's about 10-minute walk from the centre of Albufeira. You're right by the main beaches there. 3-minute car journey. Really, really good location. That's what it looks like. You've got the rooms like that as well. So again, it's just to show you, it's very good quality hotel that's there. Really good option. But for those that aren't interested in Albufeira, some people prefer the more cities like Porto. Again, I'm going there in a couple of weeks as well. Porto, beautiful place, really vibrant, really cultural, very different from Albufeira. There's another option you have here. So you can invest via a fund for 500,000. So instead of doing the route I mentioned before, you invest via a fund at 500,000. It's a prime location in Porto. Same principle, 101,000 paid up front. So you have to pay 399,000, buyback guarantee in year 6 as well. You've got the option of a property as collateral. This is due to be finished, unlike the Albufeira and the Sol Aqua one, this is due to be finished next year. But then once operational, you get 3 weeks stay per year as well. And it's in a really good location. It's surrounded by the Hilton, the Lodge, wineries as well. So again, for people that prefer the more city side of things, this is another investment option. Again, there's no right or wrong with this. We would go through every option with you, but these, again, same principle. I think the main thing to take from this is that you're not looking at having to invest 500,000. You can do it for a lot less as well. That's where the riverside is, as it says on the tin. It's right by the river. And it's surrounded by bars, restaurants, all that side of things as well. Again, if you know Porto, it's put in there, the riverside here. So really good location, right near the centre, right near the river as well. As I say, I really like Porto, but then I'd love Albufeira as well. I think Albufeira is just such a good, such a holiday destination, particularly coming from Spain. It's really nice. Another option we've got, you can invest within the Navigator Collection Company, which is a collection of different hotels. Same principle here. It's a hospitality group. 500,000, combinational interest in 101,000. You can even, with this option, which becomes quite popular for a lot of people, you can actually get a loan of 74,000 on this one, which means you only need 325,000, which is really low, and you get the buyback guarantee in year 6 as well. So another option. But again, any of these that are of interest to you, then we would go through these with you in person. We have other funds as well. So we've got hospitality funds, we've got a Bitcoin fund for those that are interested, finance and entertainment fund, finance and agribusiness fund, AI fund, Oxy Capital fund, IMGA tech fund. So we can go through the fund options with you as well, if that's of more interest. As I say, as advisors, we'll go through what's best for you. It's different for everybody. Some people we speak to are looking very much for one thing, others another. But we will go through that with you with one of our qualified advisors and myself. And that's it. I mean, I've covered most of the stuff off, I think, which we need to cover off. My advice to anyone watching this, if it is something you're interested in, it's not feeling under pressure to do stuff. But some of the questions we had in, I'm a bit short of time, but I suggest anyone that has any questions to email me, is don't leave it, because it's one of these things that it won't be around forever. We know because of the elections coming up in Portugal. We know through what's happened with Malta that this will change. It simply will change. But we don't know when, and it might be too late. So these minimum stay requirements in the 1 week, or the minimum 5 years till you get the passport, will change. And you want to be in a situation where you don't want to have left it too late. Even if you're looking at your retirement, which is not for 5 years' time, you could hold this asset with a guaranteed buyback and still not leave the country that you're currently in. And then at the end of the 5, 6 year, in year 6, when you get the passport, you can then live anywhere in the EU. It's a fantastic benefit. So anybody who's interested, use the QR codes that you can scan and book yourself into my diary. You've got my email there, sam.daynes@holbornassets.com, sam.daynes@holbornassets.com. You can email WhatsApp me, 44796905922. You can, got my website there, worldcbi.com or holbornpass.com. And that's really it. That's what I wanted to sort of talk you through today. As I mentioned before, we know that we know that on Sunday, weird day, but on Sunday we know it's going to be the elections here in Portugal, so we're going to know a little bit more about what government's coming in. But any changes they make will take time to go through. So there's certainly time for people looking at this, even if the elections have already passed. There will be time, but you want to be moving on it if you are interested, or at least talking about it now. And we're happy to go through that with you. So any questions, send an email to me, book in an appointment, and I can go through that with you. But so I hope you found that interesting. Thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully we can help you moving forward. Thank you.